Happy Thursday. If it's Thursday when you're watching this, it might not be. So happy wherever you are. You know what I mean? That's right. It's a manic opening, which means it could only be the Rachel LaForce show. That's right. If this is your first time watching, what a time to join. Am I right? My name is Rachel LaForce. I am a comedian. I'm a speaker. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a mother of two. I am in a big transformation at the moment. So, what a time to join. This is my podcast. Obviously, would it be wild if it wasn't? This is the Rachel LaForce show. This is a spiritual podcast from me, a comedian, for people like you who aren't spiritual. What I mean by that is when a little bit about me. I got sober a couple of years ago, had a spiritual awakening, and was like, am I supposed to be a healer? And got like really into like, new age spirituality and like, dualism and all these things. And I do a lot of practice of that. Fun fact, you can get an energy reading from me. Check out rachelaforce.com. So I do all of those things, but I also felt like, wait a minute, I feel like we're doing ourselves a disservice because we've made spirituality this thing that's other, and we've made it a commodity, and we've made it like ethereal and like spiritual girl era. And like, we've just like, it's just bullshit. You know what I mean? It's like, well, if it's not practical, and it's not coming from people who look like me or engage like me, all these things, it's like, well, to me, it's like the most practical is the most spiritual, and most spiritual is the most practical. So that is what I aim to do, and that is what we're going to talk about today. So I wanted to open with a card pull. I don't know why, but I just looked over and I felt the pull to pull a card. This is from, I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Work Your Light. These are Oracle cards from Rebecca Campbell. Fun fact, before my spiritual awakening in a bunk bed in Aspen, I very high on cannabis. I was introduced to the book Light is the New Black, which is Rebecca Campbell's, one of her book. I think it's her second book. Anyway, and that was like slowly the seed that was really kind of waking me up. So I really like her work. Okay, so, well, that seems like that might be the card, but let's go ahead. So I always like these. I'm just going to take one quick moment here. So if you're listening and I go silent, I'm just tuning into myself. And, I'm going to pull the, haha, of course. So there was a card that was on bottom. This happens to me a lot. And I kind of always know, like, that's the card. But I was like, well, let me see if there's something else. And then I grabbed one, and this was Inner Temple. Okay, so the first one, this card, and this is all going to make sense, I promise. Or it won't. I don't know. There's a million podcasts. You can find something else to listen to. This is Leap. Leap. And it says, you go first. The universe will catch you. And that's what I like, because I a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today, like I said, I'm in this kind of transformation. I don't need to like over talk it or make it this big thing. I think a lot of times when we're growing and we're changing, we're kind of in this place. I'm also postpartum, and there's just a lot of big changes and things happening. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you today. So if this is your first episode listening and you're like, does she always just talk about herself? Yeah, pretty much. So welcome to it, because I trust that whatever I am talking about is also applicable to you. So I'm just telling you my perception of what's happening. And right now what's happening is I cannot find the leap. There we go. 72. I was so close. Oh, haha. That's hilarious. And these cards are right next to each other in the book. So let's read the first one then. First, we're going to read them in order. So the first one is actually Inner Temple Devotion. Tune in to the portal of your heart. And her cards and vibe is very like, very, very femme. and like pink and things like that. So if that's not your vibe, I get it. All right. Inner temple. You are being called to be a devoted student and tune into your heart, to incorporate true devotion into your life. You could be called to develop a regular meditation, journaling, or a chanting practice, to show up to your soul with rhythm, to develop a daily practice where you fill up your well and spend time with your soul. All the answers to all of your questions that you seek are waiting for you in the portal of your heart. But you cannot hear them unless you carve out time each day to listen. Your soul is yearning for a deeper relationship with you, and so the more time you spend with it and show up to it, the more clearly it will guide you. We are here to grow as souls. Earth is one big playground for the soul to learn, and you are being called to go deeper into your soul growth or to increase your devotion by being a student of a lineage or a spiritual teacher. If you've already been a committed student, then you are being commended for your devotion. Your guides want you to know how proud of you they are, and the time you've spent in devotion is priceless. If you are questioning your career or life path, your guides want you to know to turn your focus toward devotion and this prayer. Please use me in a way that delights my mind, body, and soul. May my life be one big moving prayer. Okay, pause on that. All right, I got to read the next one, but I'm telling you, the shit's nuts. If you've been listening and like I have been, like I feel like I'm at the craps table and I'm just shooting whatever it makes you good at craps, because these card pulls lately have just been like just lit up. Okay, so this is the leap card. And again, it said, you go first, the universe will catch you. Life bends for the courageous. The universe wants to support you, but you need first to leap, to throw your life up in the air. Perhaps you're being called to leap forward or leap away, but are scared to make the move. Or perhaps you're waiting for a big fat sign or an instruction manual or permission to do so first. If this is you, then this card is your sign and permission. Take a deep breath and leap into the unknown. It's scary to let go of all we know and hope for something new, and it's normal to feel anxious at the thought of letting go of what we know for sure. But this is an unavoidable process of rising, and right now you are being called to live. Nature is constantly showing up and showing us how to live with courage. Fall comes every year and encourages the trees to loosen their grip, to allow what once was so full of life to fall away leaf by leaf. And for a moment, it feels like nothing will grow again. And then the branches are left bare without the comfort of what once was. But in the morn of spring, new shoots begin to appear, and something new is born that is even more glorious than before. Okay. All right. Are we in it? Are we in it? Okay. Check this out. So what I wanted to talk about, if you've been listening, you know that there's been this building of being still, going back to one, peeling back the layers. And when I was thinking about what did I want to share with you guys today, and I was like, where all of a sudden I felt I have always been a people pleaser. I've lost myself in relationships. It makes sense to me that I loved acting because I was like, who do you want me to be? I'll be anybody you want me to be, because I got so good at being other people. I love improv because I don't have to think about anything. I'm just from the top of my head. And again, I can be anybody, and I don't even have to be people. I could be a wardrobe. I could be a shoe. I could be a tree. Like all of these things. And so for a long time, I thought, oh, well, that's my identity. I'm an actor. I'm a comedian. That's what I do. And then with this, kind of like getting sober and choosing to listen to all parts of myself and all of the things, right? It's not what this episode is about. But you can go back and listen to all the ones when I talk about it. And my journey, I've kind of realized, especially now where I'm like, okay, now I have 2 kids. Like, what? Like, when did that happen? Okay. Like, I feel like all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, now I'm like a mom. I'm getting ready my husband and I own a production company. We're getting ready to move forward on opening our production studio here in Atlanta. And I'm like, all of these things are like moving and in motion. And I'm really wanting to make sure that I find myself in these things, because I am aware that although these are healthier things, than drinking and unavailable men. I could still lose myself in these things. I could lose myself in being a mom. I could lose myself in being the entrepreneur and, oh, look at all these things that I've created, when I'm like, am I going to do all of that? And at the end of it, am I still going to feel like a tiger in a cage? Am I going to get to the other side and be like, look at all these things I've accomplished, and then still go, but I never really said the thing that I wanted to fucking say? And I know that that sounds dramatic, but that's where I've really been in my mind lately, where, I've been taking my own advice finally of all of these things that I'm sharing with you guys. I actually went back and listened to the episodes myself, and I was like, pretty good advice, LaForce. Maybe you should try taking it, and I was like, oh, I have the opportunity to like slow down. I don't have to do everything. Just because there's all these things I want to do, I don't have to do all of them now. Or just because you can doesn't mean you should. So I've really tried to get quiet and be like, what do I really want to do? And I should preface by saying this is a very vulnerable episode, but other than bullshitting you, I didn't know what else to bring you today. So I'm just going to go for it. A few things. One, I've decided that I want my art and everything that I create from here on out to be something because it's something that I want to make. Right? Now, from a business standpoint, I always say one for me, one for them. Right? Because if you want to survive in this business, I think that's a really good way of looking at it. That it's like you do always have to have something that's sellable, right? Or can reach a wider audience. Because a lot of times it's either going to, people that would maybe otherwise not find you will find you through this thing, right? And or the money from selling something that's more commercial then can provide you the money and funds to make the things that you really love, right? So that's still smart. And I want to offer you that in case you haven't heard that before. I think that that's really smart. But as far as the things that I get to decide I want to make, and even as an artist and all of the TV scripts that I've written and short films that I've done and all of that, I've always done them with other people. There was still always this like hiding behind other people. I've had 2 shows in development at 2 different times. Fun that neither of them went to series, but in working in television, and both times they were with other people. Now, I do love to collaborate. That's a huge part of this, but also the other part of that was I can still hide behind these people. I can hide behind their talents. Because I didn't fully trust my own. There still is always, it's not imposter syndrome that I feel, but it's almost like still this feeling of like, I don't know, maybe somebody else has like a better, so does somebody else want to go? Do you want to go? Go ahead. And I don't need that anymore. I don't want that anymore with where I'm going. And so I offer that to you, like with where you want to go and where you're going next, like what of those things do you not need anymore? And actually today when we're recording this, it's a new moon in Cancer. And it's a really like beautiful kind of soft, fun, playful summer energy. And it's okay if, you're listening to this at the dead of winter, that's fine too. But just offering that of, we have this like really beautiful time to like reinvent or transform. And sometimes I feel like, again, the spiritual take of that is like, I'm shedding and I'm changing and I'm up leveling it. And it's just like white women in like, white standing in Topanga Canyon and bullshit. It's like, you can also be a bank teller and just have lunch outside, and that can be part of you transforming. Okay. Like it doesn't have to be this big, fucking Medea performance every time, that you want to take better care of yourself, or you want to shed these things that you don't need. And I just really feel this where my husband said to me the other day, again, very vulnerable episode, and I was getting really frustrated about something. And he goes, to be honest, he goes, I feel like you're just going to be frustrated as an artist until you're famous. And I really of course, my first feeling was like, oh yeah, that's it. Oh, you just know me. Like every egotistical, like, fuck you feeling came up. And then I sat with that and I was like, yeah, what is that? Like, what is that about? And not famous like Selena Gomez, like, which no shade, Selena, I think you're great. But like not in that sense. But what I really realized was like, oh, I don't know if I will feel fully realized until I'm truly self-expressing in the way that feels the most brave and alive. This is so lame. I know. It's like just saying it out loud. I'm like, oh, LaForce, you could have just like made something up. But it's okay. It's okay that it's like kind of cheesy because like who doesn't love cheese? You know what I mean? Dip in, baby. Like I I really have been feeling this way of like, okay, then what do you want to make? And I think that that's kind of difficult too, because if what I really want to make and what I really want to say isn't super commercial, or maybe like I know is going to only be received by a smaller audience, like that's hard for my ego, because I'm sure my ego is like, yeah, I should be fucking famous. Okay. Like I am funny. I am this, like I am hardworking. Um, my ego is just like, oh, just personified, you know? Um, but yeah, it's like I I want to let the tiger out of the cage. And that's so much energy to tame. Like if you think about taming a tiger, you know, it's like it is this big majestic beast that is, you know, but also if you see, you know, for all the times you've just observed tigers in the wild, but stay with me. You know, they can be very playful. They're very protective. They're very loving. They're very curious. Like there's all of these other things that I feel like I have lived maybe for a while in like survival mode. And then I've slowly unraveled that. And then I've like rebuilt this foundation for myself. You know, it's like got out of debt, got some money in the bank, started a business with my husband, have a secure marriage, brought two healthy babies into the world, like, you know, really, really rebuilt this foundation. And then I feel like all of a sudden, you know, in the practice of doing these things, of slowing down, of going back to one, of setting things down, I was like, oh, I don't think I've like said any of the things I really want to say yet. Because sometimes that's a curse. This is also really lame, but again, whatever. Okay. This is practicing of saying the things and sharing the things I really want to, which is like sometimes being funny can be a curse. Because if you know, like if something's happening, I always know what the punchline is. I just do. I always have. That's how my brain works. And so I've talked about this before. Like sometimes it's hard to let it just sit there. You know, it's like low hanging fruit. It's hard to just let it sit there and go after something else, to express something else. Even accepting for myself where I was like, it's totally okay to be like, oh, I'm a spiritual teacher and I'm also a comedian. And like, that just makes sense. Like the ownership, the amount of years it's taken me to even like get to that place. And like, I mean, this, I was texting, this makes sense. I was texting with my mom and I was talking about how difficult it is to learn how to regulate your family, where I was like, oh, I feel like I finally learned how to regulate my own emotions and myself and my nervous system. And now all of a sudden I was like, holy shit, I realized like I'm responsible for doing that for my family, not for them as individuals, but you know, I've got a 4-month-old, he's barely 4 months, and you know, 2-year old. It's like, you know, and a highly creative and sensitive masculine husband. You know, I feel this sense of co-regulation, you know, that takes like a lot of focus and a lot of energy. And she was like, Rachel, that's why, God willing, we get 100 years, because you will never stop growing. You will never stop uncovering, and you will always be in discovery mode. And that's, you know, I talked about that a little bit a couple episodes back, of wanting to be like a student of life and what does that mean. And I think the more that we come to life as a student the easier it is. Like there's this weird expectation that we're all just like supposed to know everything. You know, it's like every job you go for and it's like it's entry level and they're like, need 5 to 7 years experience. It's like, I'm fucking filing paperwork. Can you give it a rest? You know, and because of that, go, go, go. You've got to have this. You got to have that. And like, you know, if there's not a seat at the table, you bring a chair, make your own table. Like everything is just so fucking rah, that, and I'm not the first obviously to say this, but it's like to truly go slow or to express yourself in the way that is meaningful to you is an act of rebellion, which is hilarious because I've been a rule follower, which there's episodes when I talk all about that. So I love that these were the 2 cards for today, was just this inner temple and taking the leap, because I kind of was originally thinking about talking today about like, how do you really learn who you are? And I know that sounds so open-ended, and like maybe some of you are like, no, I know exactly who I am and like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but I guarantee if you really think about it, a lot of that, like, especially for those of you that have that instant like response, like, not to call you out, but that's probably a trauma response, right? Because you've had to know, you've had to take care of yourself, or you had to take care of other people, or you like whatever that is. So it's like, no, I know. And I mean, yes, I did just say I called you out, but like, I don't say that to like be a dick. I just say that because I'm like, I know that about me. Like all of us, you know, where it's like, nope, I'm a comedian and like I can fucking go with the best of them, you know? And like, I've been the girl at the bar before who's like, yeah, like I can drink as many Jameson shots as you. I mean, like, good God. You know what I mean? So like, listen, if you feel like you're far away from where you want to be, we all can change, okay? An old dog can learn new tricks. But I just I just say that where I'm like, I want to take this season of slowing down to really learn, like, what's that tiger want? That tiger in the cage, like, what she want to say? You know, like what do you want to say? And so, you know, I do this podcast in seasons, and I do that for a reason, which if you have a podcast or thinking about starting one, that's always, I do consulting all the time. That's my number one thing. I'm like, unless you know or want to commit to doing a podcast every week or whatever your schedule is, do seasons, because showing up and talking and all that, it can be very draining and difficult. And I think to really be effective, especially if you have a podcast by yourself or even in a partnership, because partnerships need time to rest too. Sometimes to be our most effective, we need to rest. So in a couple weeks, we've got a couple more episodes coming up, but I'll be bringing season 3 in for a landing. And then in the first quarter of 2024, we'll be coming back. And so, and I'll still obviously be doing content in all the places, but that's really what I want to do with this time of like, how can I create practices for myself, you know, like that inner temple where it was like, you have to get quiet, like in the stillness is where you learn. And you have to get quiet to hear yourself, especially if you're like me and you talk all the time. You got to get quiet for real. You have to slow down for real. Not like, oh, I let go of like one commitment. Aren't I cute? No. Slowing down is not, okay, well, I'm going to go to the gym, and then on the way home to the gym, I'm going to hit these 4 errands. But then while I do that, I'm going to make some stories just so people know like what I'm doing. And then, oh, don't forget, I got to call this person back, but I'm also going to FaceTime while I'm driving. That's not the rhythm here, my friends. That's not the vibe. And so I'm excited. That's what I'll leave you with. I'm excited to kind of really figure out like, what do I want to really say? And I think it's perfect timing because I've been working on putting a solo show together. And as a lot of you know, I was like, I'm going to do a few mini tours towards the end of 2024. So if you're listening to this and want me to come to your city, DM me. You can write on the community page on YouTube, send me an email, rachel@rachel.laforce.com. Get in touch in all the ways and let me know. in the not so distant future, I'll be releasing kind of a primary list of all the cities that I'm going to try to hit that you guys had sent to me where you are. And so I've been working on this show that I want to like tour and bring out. And at first I was like, I'm just going to do like traditional stand up and I'm just going to hit it with all these jokes. And then I was like, are you only doing that so you can prove to yourself that like you can do it? And I was like, fuck. Yeah. And it was like, but is that what you really want to do? Like, is that what the tiger really wants to do? Because the more you keep doing what you think you're supposed to do or what you've always done, again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. There's not a firing squad out here, LaForce, being like, yeah, but are you really a stand-up though? Are you really funny? That's all in my own head. So I offer that to you. What is the thing that you're still doing or the things that you still keep doing or the things that you're in pursuit of doing? Because there's an imaginary firing squad being like, oh, but can you really? It's not real. And even if it is real, fuck them. You know, you get one shot. And, 15-year-old Rachel's favorite quote, life is not a dress rehearsal. And so, it's like, how can you in the next couple months like listen to your tiger? That sounds so sexual. But really, how can you tune into that tiger energy? What is that? It's interesting because we're getting ready to come up on Leo season and there is a little bit of that performer, that bravado, that sense of, a lion, the pride, like even if you're like, oh, I'm kind of quiet and I like having a quiet, simple life, like it doesn't mean that you have to be performing, but what are the ways in which you can really show up for yourself fully? And I don't know. I don't know that for me. And I feel like I've really gotten to know myself for sure. But I think I'm kind of still just the tip of the iceberg of like, what am I really capable of? What do I really want to do? How do I really want to live my life? Not how I always thought I was going to, or what I thought it should look like, or, it's like, what do I want to do? How do I want to feel? And what do I want to say? Because if I talk on a mic multiple times a week, like I want to start really truly saying what it is that I want to say. So it is time to let the tiger out of the cage, baby. And so you would be happy to know that right now my solo show is aptly titled Everything I Wish I Could Tell You. Because I was like, there's all the things I could talk about, but it's like, what are the things I really want to talk about? And so I realized I was like, that's what's holding me back, is all the things that I wish I could tell you. And all the things I feel like, I think going back to the thing that drove me so nuts, my husband was like, I don't think that you'll ever fully not feel angsty until you're famous. And I think it's more the feeling of there's so much loud shit out in our world and so much out there that's still like, you have to look like this, you have to sound like this, you have to make this much money, go for the bag, you have to do this, like you have to do that, be skinnier, be this, be that, be this. And I don't want to participate in that anymore. And I want to be able to offer something else. And the only way that I'm really going to get to that place is to really start sharing the things that I want to share. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. So I appreciate you listening. I know you're like, it's kind of been fun actually, because I feel like these episodes have gone like as a series, right? It's been like one after another. They've kind of built on themselves a little bit. But I think we're coming in for a landing. I think that's kind of the end of that, kind of get still series. But like I said, we've got a couple more weeks coming down the pipe, and then we're going to be Rachel LaForce show. We'll be quiet for a few months. I'm going to go work on some other things and spread my wings, and then we will be back. So we've got some really good episodes coming up for the end of the season. I've got some really great guests, so it's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be more people talking than just me. Again, This has been the Rachel LaForce Show. This is a spiritual podcast from me, a comedian for people who aren't spiritual. You can tune in to all of my offerings at rachellaforce.com. I offer energy readings. I do one-on-one coaching. I do creative consulting. There's not a lot that she doesn't do. So hit me up. Also, I'm slashing my prices all summer long. So if you've been saving your pennies or hoping I was a little bit more affordable for whatever that means for your budget, check me out. I think that's it. Like, subscribe. If you guys could tell somebody about this, I know podcast, because word of mouth is so helpful. Also, I would say if you could leave me a review, oh my gosh. And if you leave me a review, screenshot it and DM me, I'll Venmo you $5 for coffee. Don't say I never did anything for ya. All right. Friends, stay in it. And I see you. I love you. Love you, mean it.